Good evening everyone, welcome to the rundown straight after the Spurs game. Let's talk about that result. Are we talking about the Vardy party first, or are we talking about Solanke's, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 opportunities in the first half? Or Pedro Porro getting on the score sheet? Where to start with that game? I feel like it was a bit all over the place. Spurs were dominant in the first half and then seemed to struggle in the second half, really breaking Leicester down once Vardy had scored. So some great talking points, including my terrible start. I think I'll end up around 50 points, I think, somewhere around there, and about 5 million. Hopefully might be in the first 5 million to start, so it's not the start we envisage, people, but we move quickly, hopefully, onto game week 2 and go from there. Oh, Sam, I feel your pain there in the chat. Terrible start all round, I think. Really struggled that first week to get the calls right when cheap in defence, when big at the back is back. Went for the wrong midfielders. No Arsenal attack, no Havertz. Oh, I did go Saka actually. No Havertz though. Went with Solanke. While he was great, really, I think. Great chances. X minutes are fantastic. Just struggled to put them away tonight. That might be due to a lack of pre-season, and he's got a nice game against Everton coming up, so fingers crossed he starts bagging them from the weekend, I think. That's where we go. Right, let's jump into having a look at my, as I said, terrible game week. Let me just give this a little refresh so we get the latest scores. So we've got Henderson on 2 points, which was, I don't know, felt good about Henderson when that game started, and then Palace seemed to be the better team all the way through, but Brentford, obviously home team, managed to get the win, and sometimes in those 50-50 games it's the home team that comes out better, the crowd get behind them and we go from there. So yeah, 2 points for Henderson, but I was never going to go for anyone else really, only probably Flecken, and he didn't do much better. So yeah, onto the defenders. Hall, 5-pointer, clean sheet and a yellow card. People are now saying he's a rotation risk. I think Shah's red card kind of secures him as Newcastle's first choice left back, at least while Shah's out, because Byrne will be needed to play at centre back. But he's still in there at 4.5. Hopefully he doesn't become a rotation risk, because I have got one of the biggest talking points this week, Jarell Quansah, who, as a Liverpool fan, I thought he'd start as he did, and then he got hooked, which we couldn't really foresee. 45 minutes into the first game of the season, I don't think anyone really seen that coming. Maybe rotation coming in the later weeks, but certainly not 45 minutes and then benched at half time. So yeah, I think we were slightly unlucky there, but Slot was a bit ruthless. I'll come on more to what I think about Quansah and his prospects moving into game week 2 in a moment. And then the star man of my defence, Pedro Porro, with that goal popping up in an unbelievable position for a right back, really. But yeah, great goal. I think it come off his shoulder or his back potentially, or somewhere in that region. I don't think he made contact with it fully with his head. But yeah, I think he may have fell out a bonus. Let's just have a little look. See if we can get a quick refresh on the bonus scores. Oh, he actually ended up with 1 bonus. Great stuff. So that'll be him up to 9 points. So an extra point. We've got midfield. We got Nkunku. Another X minutes risk. Will he play Thursday for Chelsea? João Felix has come in. I don't think that left wing spot is really where we wanted to see him early in the season. I think we wanted to see him at 10 or even number 9, but our resident Chelsea fan has just joined the chat, so Hopefully FPL River will give us some insight into what he thinks is going to happen with Nkunku as well. But again, I'll come on to Nkunku and Kwanzaa in a moment, talk about them a little bit more in depth and what I kind of think we should do and what will happen with them. Bruno Fernandes, XG monster in that first game in that false 9. 2 great chances early on. United should have been 2-0 up early. Fernandes should have had a brace. But just the 3 points. So yeah, it felt like a night of what could have been Friday night for Fernandes, which feels like a lifetime ago, but really, really happy, I suppose, with the pick. I think he's solid for minutes. If he keeps playing in that false 9, he's going to get chances, although we've seen he doesn't always take them in that game. But then, even in that 10, we know kind of how kind of devastating he can be as well from there with assists and chipping in with goals, and obviously he's always got the penalties to fall back on if all else fails. We've got the star man Saka. He just never lets us down, really, does he? He's just, the last 3 years, he's just been solid. Week in, week out, you can rely on Saka to deliver the goods. A bit of an underrated captain shout this week. I don't think too many people were talking about him. I've seen a couple of Saka captains out there, but obviously the majority of them were on Isak and Salah, with a few on Haaland. And then fourth in my midfield was Luis Diaz, which I'll be honest, I was kind of really happy about now, looking back on the game. Obviously, I think he looks solid in that position. Gakpo actually come on for Jota to play in the 9 late on. There was no Darwin Núñez. I think he finished with around 0.85 XG for the game. XGI 0.84 for the game, so really good performance. I know he's not going to play Ipswich every week, but I think there's returns there for him to be had. It's just, again, the same questions we've probably asked about Luis Diaz over the last few years of can he deliver when he's in front of goal and with those key killer passes to set up his teammates. So we'll watch, but I'm happy with that pick moving forward. Captain Isak, again, another day of probably what could have been. Newcastle went down to 10 men. Probably wrongly, I think. I don't think it was warranted. Didn't probably warrant the red cards. The red card for Shah, but got the assist. 10 points. Don't know if you wanted to call that a captaincy hit, because he did get a return, but I definitely feel like it could have been different without that red card. Solanke, 2-pointer tonight again. I think we're talking another kind of 4 or 5 chances just in the first half alone. He was really fantastic to start the game, played really well. X minutes looked great straight away. I know a few people questioned it, thought he might come off early. We've seen Richarlison come on late, but not for Solanke. So, yeah, maybe there's hope that he's going to be the 90-minute man he was at Bournemouth at Spurs. And again, really solid pick, I think, now moving forward. Everton at home next. And then obviously the big Norwegian robot who does what he does best. Scored against Chelsea. I think he had a few words for Cucurella at one point. But yeah, I think he just does what we expect. I don't think City were that great, to be honest. City were okay. But yeah, certainly Haaland's there, and I think a few people are starting to get a bit of FOMO on Haaland for week 2, the guys that went without, but I think they've probably got solid teams with the likes of Havertz and Salah and other premiums in there as well. And then the bench was pretty straightforward. Rodgers and Cons are on there with 2-pointers, and then Ben Johnson, who I expected to start, to be honest with you. I did have some hope he would start, and I'm hoping he will start moving forward. I'm hoping that was just more of a tactical decision playing against Liverpool, and maybe he wasn't suited to the game. I'm hoping he does nail down that kind of right back, right wing back position at Ipswich, because they've got a tasty run of fixtures from Gameweek 3. So yeah, kind of really happy with most of the picks. A few bad outcomes, but the only one I'm probably slightly disappointed is probably Nkunku, because I was really really against Chelsea in the lead up to the season, and kind of got swayed by the fact he may have played number 9 in that City game and there was no Rodri, and I thought Chelsea would give a much better account of themselves. I think they lost something going with kind of the flat 3 in midfield almost. I would have liked to have seen them play that game with a 10 and be more forceful in that game, maybe play with some speed on that left wing and really try and do some damage to City, but it wasn't to be. And then we roll on to next week really, so I'll bring up my Game Week 2 side as it currently is, my bus team. And it's pretty much the same 11. Well, it is the same 11, the bench is exactly the same, and this is the way I planned it, to be honest, for the first 2 weeks. Henderson in goal with West Ham at home. Again, I think West Ham look really good against Aston Villa, but again, Crystal Palace also look really good, so that's kind of a 50-50 game, I'd say, and hopefully the home team come out the better with a nice clean sheet. We've got a back 3 of Hall, Pedro Porro and Kwanzaa. Again, with Kwanzaa, I'm going to leave him in there to start. I personally think it was a bit of a warning from Slot to Kwanzaa about his performance and to all the players, and I think it was very easy for him to make an example of Kwanzaa because he had Kanate kind of waiting. I've seen a few people kind of disagree on Twitter and have different opinions about whether he's a potential sell ahead of Game Week 2, whether we're keeping him, benching him. I'm probably going to keep him. I am a bit worried he drops in price because I'll be honest, I was eyeing up some 4.5s for him in Game Week 3 when he's got United away, but I think if he drops, then I've just got to kind of swallow it and eat it, and it was a bit of a poor pick. I can't see me moving in Game Week before Game Week 2 to take him out, unless the only player I could really see me moving for is Rico Lewis if Kyle Walker moves from City, potentially if he gets a move or an injury or something that's going to keep him out or take him away from that City side for a prolonged period of time or indefinitely. I could see myself swapping to Rico Lewis, but outside of that, if he's benched and he doesn't play, I've got Konza on there against Arsenal. While it's not ideal, it's not outside the realms of possibility that Aston Villa, who are a really good side, can kind of keep a clean sheet. It's unlikely, very unlikely, but worst case, I've got a 90-minute central defender there who can sub in for Kwanzaa. Yeah, Robertson at Fulham does look good, River, to be honest. I have toyed with him and he was in a lot of my drafts before Game Week 1, and I think he's got potential to be fantastic. While Fulham were good against United and they looked solid for most of the game, they gave up a few big chances to United and they actually looked a bit toothless in attack and going forward, and I think that if they carry on playing that front 3 of Iwobi, Muniz and Traore, I think they might struggle to score goals this year just off that game. United aren't the greatest team defensively, and for the most part when they went forward they really struggled to put United under consistent pressure, I think, really, and it was really a game of kind of two sides that were really struggling to score, really. Again, kind of just my view of the game. So I think he's a good pick, but he's an attacking fullback at best mid-table side. So I think I'd rather just ride out with Kwanzaa and then Konza if needs be. If Slot comes out and say Kwanzaa's not starting and he's lost his place to Kanate, then as I said, potentially there's a move there, but I would rather go into Game Week 3 with 2 free transfers and see what we can do there. And while I might be down 0.1 and miss out on a few moves and potentially have to drop him down to a 4.0, I don't think that's the worst thing in the world. We've got a few playing 4.0s, and Villa's fixtures and Ipswich's fixtures for Johnson and Konza both change from Game Week 3, so kind of happy to play them moving forward if Johnson gets his place. So yeah, there's a lot there on Kwanzaa, but I'm going to play him and start him unless, as I said, either Slot comes out and says he's out, or Kyle Walker moves on from City and Rico Lewis becomes a real fixture in that City team. And while he might still do that while Kyle Walker's there, I think, as we all know with Pep, he will probably rotate depending on the game and the opposition. So yeah, pretty straightforward really. Keep him, hold him unless we get some news that he's definitely not going to be starting, or, as I said, a better option really comes up. Pedro Porro is going to start against Everton. He's a goal scoring fullback now, so home game. While Spurs can't seem to keep a clean sheet to save their lives, even in a game that they massively dominate and look miles the better team, I think Everton's attack against Brighton looked pretty awful. I don't think he got injured. I think he might have got stood on, or it looked like a contact injury more than anything. So I do think Pedro Porro's got a chance to be fine for the weekend. I don't think, obviously, I'm live now and I haven't seen Ange speak after the game, so he might say otherwise. But I think he should be fine. Hopefully, he played on for those last few minutes. I think if it was anything serious, they'd have took him straight off. I know they took him off after a few minutes before the end, but he did play for quite a while struggling, so hopefully he's okay for the weekend. Onto midfield, so I've got Nkunku. Now again, Nkunku for me is just a solid hold. I think they took him off with 60 minutes, after 60 minutes on the weekend, simply because Maresca probably plans on plans on playing him midweek on Thursday. I'm pretty sure Chelsea will try and put out a strong side in the first leg, try and get a big lead, and then look to get through that way. And he'll probably play 60 minutes in that game, and then again the same at the weekend. Nkunku didn't get 60 minutes. I'm pretty sure he got close to 60 minutes, didn't he? He got 57 minutes. Yeah, so Nkunku got 57 minutes at the weekend, so pretty much there to the 60. I know it was obviously then short of the second point, but yeah, I think Maresca's plan is to play him midweek, go strong side, bring him off early, and then play him again at the weekend. So yeah, we'll see, but I think he's going to start at the weekend, barring an injury or anything like that. So on that, in terms of Felix coming in, I think he's going to take time to come in. I now think Jackson's probably a bigger worry. I think Nkunku and Felix are probably bigger threats to Jackson in the 9 now than what they were. I can't see Felix coming in and not instantly starting. I don't see him coming from Atletico and not being able to put his stamp on that Chelsea side. He was fantastic really when he come in last time for Chelsea, maybe not from a fantasy point entirely, but he's a great player, and Maresca will make full use of him, I imagine, instead of Jackson. Nkunku's just nailed. I know people have got worries about him, but I think he's absolutely nailed. He'd probably play all across that front line for Chelsea, but yeah, I'm happy with him at the minute and kind of really comfortable with him as a pick, yeah. And then on to Fernandes. So Fernandes away to Brighton. Again, Brighton didn't really get tested defensively against Everton. There was a couple of half chances for Calvert-Lewin and a couple of the other Everton boys, but nothing too major. I'm going to be really interested to see United up against probably better opposition in Brighton than Fulham, and yeah, see what they can do. Again, Fernandes is an easy hold for me. 90 minutes, penalties, XG off the scale in that first game, so if that carries on, then yeah, he's a great pick for now and the few weeks ahead, even with Liverpool in game week 3. Saka, I'm not going to say much about Saka. Obviously Saka's always going to be there for the foreseeable. Villa away, it's a tough fixture, but the way Arsenal are playing at the moment, can see them scoring against anyone. Saka seems to have hit the ground running, but yeah, great. No issues with Saka. He's going to be in there. Luis Diaz against Brentford away, again, as I've just mentioned, he seems like an easy hold as well for me. 0.84 XG in the first game. Threatened, had chances, created chances. Ball just wouldn't fall for him on a couple of occasions. This week it was Jota and Salah's turn. Hopefully next week it's Diaz's turn. So yeah, we'll definitely hold Diaz. United next week. Potentially, hopefully going to roll in game week 2. So going into game week 3 with 2 transfers. Luis Diaz could be on the chopping block depending on performances against Man United and Brentford. Performances against Brentford before that Man United game. And then yeah, we'll reassess there. And then up front, Haaland captain. I know there's been some talk about triple captain, but I'll come on to that in a moment. Solanke at home to Everton, as I mentioned, 4 or 5 chances, 90 minutes in his first game for Spurs. Seemed to be the focal point of the attack. No problems at all, easy hold. And then Isak against Bournemouth away again. Easy hold and start. Bournemouth away. Forest created some good chances against Bournemouth, so I hope Newcastle can stay to 11 men this weekend, and hopefully we see a bit more of Isak. And then on the bench, Bentley from Wolves, who I stuck him in on the basis that Sarr might get sold and he might get a few minutes. Rodgers and Konza, both from Villa, obviously bench them with the basis that they've got Arsenal. And Ben Johnson has got City away, so enough great fixtures for my bench at the minute, so hopefully don't have to delve into that bench. But as I said, if Kwanzaa is mentioned by Slot to be replaced, we may look for a replacement, or I may just play Konza and roll into game week 3. But we'll definitely see and have a look. Looks like Ramsdale's going to Wolves, says River. I think that's actually a really good signing for them. Obviously, Sarr's been kind of a good saving for them over the last few years. But yeah, I think Ramsdale's a decent keeper. Probably deserves to be a number 1 somewhere in the Premier League. But yeah, really good signing. Could he become an option? I think. Is he 5 million or is he 4.5? Let me have a little look. I haven't even looked at Ramsdale's price. Can we see him? Where is he? There he is, 4.5. So yeah, maybe Ramsdale becomes an option at Wolves when their fixtures change. I think Wolves' fixtures change around, is it 7 or 8? Yeah, so 7 they've got Brentford away, 8 Man City at home, and then really 9 Brighton, Palace, Southampton at home, Fulham away. They've got a really nice run from game week 9 onwards, so maybe Aaron Ramsdale comes into people's thinking if anyone's wildcarding a bit later, maybe even around that 7 mark. If you can maybe bench him for game week 8, then Ramsdale could be a really good option if he does go to Wolves. But yeah, so that is my plan for obviously my game week score from this week and my plan into this week. So I'm just going to go back and talk about Nkunku and Felix and a little bit about Chelsea and kind of where I stand on it. I think, barring Nkunku, I wouldn't go near the Chelsea attack, especially until we see Felix integrated. Felix could become a really good option, but I think Nkunku and Palmer are probably the only 2 that are nailed in that attack, which does take 2 out of the 4 attacking spots potentially. I think Felix will probably come in and play number 9 potentially. Maybe Nkunku will, and then that left wing spot is probably up for grabs. But again, we may see Nkunku take that spot. Felix in the 10. We can see a full rotation there, but I definitely think Nkunku and Palmer will be nailed, and they'll be the options for, as I said, the upcoming weeks until Felix is up and running and we kind of get a settled Chelsea side. But yeah, I think really good options there. If anyone's worried about Nkunku, I wouldn't be. If you speak to any Chelsea fans, which I've spoke to a couple this week, they definitely, from their point of view, from a footballing standpoint, forgetting about FPL for a moment, Nkunku is going to be integral to that team this season. So he's going to get chances, he's going to get minutes, and yeah, I think if you've got him, don't worry about him. People have probably got bigger things to worry about in the teams than Nkunku, because he's going to be secure for starts and chances basically. So yeah, one not to worry about too much. I think someone's just asked about it, Kwanzaa again. I'm just going to touch on Kwanzaa quickly. Again, I know I spoke a lot about him, but I'm going to hold him, play him this week unless we hear otherwise. I am worried about a price drop, but sometimes I think I have to just take the price hit, unfortunately, and use the 2 transfers going into game week 3. We're going to see some players come back in game week 2, and transfers may be very different come game week 3. So definitely probably going to reassess in game week 3, as I said, unless we get news on Rico Lewis that he's nailed at that right back position, or the Kwanzaa is completely out the pitch now for Liverpool. He'll probably start. Start for me in my FPL, not for necessarily for Liverpool, but I will be starting him this week. Spurs result, what did we think of the game? I'm assuming everyone watched the game and was looking out for different assets, whether it was Solanke, Son, Pedro Porro, maybe even a couple of Leicester assets. I've seen, obviously, Twitter went a little bit into meltdown when Mavidi was benched and Vardy was injured and then playing and all sorts. So I think Spurs were fantastic in the first half, and Leicester looked awful, and it looked like it could have been a cricket score, I think, after that first half, and Leicester were really struggling early on and couldn't get grips to the pace that Spurs were playing. But Spurs looked tired, I think, in the second half. There was a lot of energy expended in that first half playing at that high tempo. Yeah, it was classic Tottenham, especially under Ange. While it's been like that for a while for Spurs, it was definitely reminiscent of a ton of games I've seen under Ange. Yeah, and that man pops up again, Jamie Vardy, doesn't he? A diet of Coca noodles and WKDs has been doing him wonders now, late into his 30s. So he definitely is still going to be. I think he's still going to be worth talking about for FPL at some point this year. Obviously, 5.5. If he starts for that Steve Cooper side and he's getting chances, I definitely think he could be the best cheap forward to own at 5.5. He's going to have penalties when he's starting. We just love him, don't we, Vardy? I think everyone he just reminds everyone of a bit of a street footballer and doesn't care who he's talking to. Obviously, you give a bit to Romero on the way out and, pointing at the badge, giving him the "I've got one, you haven't," and a couple of choice words on his way off. So, yeah, great to have Vardy back in the Premier League, and as I said, I think he's going to really be an option as we move through the season. 5.5 on penalties, and yeah, he's going to be the focal point of that Leicester attack as and when he plays. Hopefully the minutes increase as he goes. But yeah, I think the Spurs lads all look great. Maddison looked really good. I could see why people were talking about that Bergval as well late in the game when he come on. He's tidy on the ball. I know he gave away that ball towards the end that created the chance for Leicester, but looked really tidy. But Maddison, Son, even Brennan Johnson, while he might not be nailed, looked great. Werner come on the right wing, which he looked dangerous on the right rather than the left because he was getting down to that byline and trying to cut it back, which was nice to see for him. Obviously, I doubt he'll be an option at any point this year unless injuries occur. But yeah, all the main Spurs assets look really good and a really nice hold going into game week 2. Yeah, that's true as well. Never trust Spurs, especially on a bet. But yeah, they played really well, so really happy with kind of the Spurs assets I've got there in Solanke and Porro. And then a few other talking points from game week 1 really, I think. Valentin Barco from Brighton. Obviously everyone expected him to be a 4 million defender, taking set pieces and causing havoc down that side with Matoma for Brighton, and was benched game week 1, which I think just goes to show kind of sometimes you just can't call it with these. Obviously people had a lot of doubts about Kwanzaa going in, and some people were really certain on Kwanzaa. I was one of them. Some people were really certain on Barco going into the season. I know Az took a little bit of flack from it from Black Box, but I think as fans of these clubs we put our opinions on the line and really kind of try and give our view of things, but sometimes it just goes to show that we are just fans, and obviously we aren't managing these sides. So while we do our best to try and guess what some of these managers are going to do, it's true that some of this is just down to down to luck, unfortunately. But yeah, I think for most people, if you've got him and he's a 4 million defender, if he's your only 4 million defender, keep him, put him on your bench him for whoever you've got. Don't look to sell him for another 4.0 at this point. If you've got two 4.0s and you banked on him playing most weeks, then potentially he is a sell. If you've got money in the bank to upgrade him, then great, look to do that. I think he is a potential sell if you've got money in there, and he is a playing 4.0 for you. But yeah, just wait and see on Barco, I think, if you can, and we'll see where we end up with him after a couple of game weeks. Potentially, obviously, Brighton have brought in another full back, and Estupiñán is back in training as well, so let's wait and see there. Eze robbed of a world, he says, River. So yeah, that Crystal Palace game, it did feel like it was amazing that Eze only come away with 2 points somehow. I'm not sure how it happened, but obviously he had the disallowed goal, he had an assist taken away from offside for Edouard. But yeah, Eze looked really good, Palace looked good. Again, Eze, Munoz, Mateta obviously got 45 minutes, I think. He come off at half time, or close to half time. So I think any of those guys will be solid most of the year. Tyreek Mitchell looked really good. He's the same price as Munoz. I know his data isn't quite as good, but he is an option, I think, at left back if people wanted something different to Munoz. So yeah, there's a few options there, but Palace again looking at potentially losing Gueye and Anderson if they both go before the window closes. So one to keep an eye on for Palace. But yeah, Eze was robbed of a worldie, and hopefully he gets one back later on in the season when I own him. I'll be honest, I was glad to see it blown off because I don't own him, and the offside goal was great. But yeah, I'm sure he's got plenty more of them in his locker before the season's out. Yeah, Greaves is another 4.0 that did impress. Now, I've been talking to an Ipswich fan this week, and he's really hot on Greaves and Leif Davis and even Ben Johnson going into game week 3, because they have a big swing of fixtures, Ipswich. So let's just have a quick look at the Ipswich fixtures. So from game week 3, we've got Fulham at home, Brighton away, Southampton away, Villa at home, West Ham away, Everton at home, Brentford away, Leicester at home. So that's quite a run. And even after that, they've got Spurs away, United at home. But essentially, they don't play one of Arsenal, City or Liverpool now after game week 2 until the second half of the season. So game week 18, they play Arsenal. So really, you've got kind of 16 game weeks after game week 2 to really play those Ipswich boys and make the most of the fixtures, really. So we hopefully could see some bargains crop up in defence. Jacob Greaves looked like I think he looks a bit like a mini Harry Maguire in the sense. Obviously he's come from Hull, playing really well at Ipswich, but he's got that same kind of build and really impressive, and definitely could be an option to score a few set piece goals before the season's out. But yeah, definitely some options there at Ipswich on that upcoming run. And then Brighton have just bought Rutter from Leeds for, I think, the best part of 40 million. So I think the expectation there would be that he's coming in to play in that number 9 slot, or 10 potentially, with João Pedro moving into that 9. Again, for me, I think everyone in that attack bar Matoma, and then secondly Minter, probably, they're the two nailed wingers. And then in that middle portion of the pitch with João Pedro, Ferguson, Welbeck, Rutter, a couple of the young lads they've got as well. I think it's best to kind of wait and see on Brighton and see where that settles. If it does settle, I think they've also just signed a 10 or a winger called Garda, is it, or Gerda? I'm not quite sure how you pronounce it, but I think he's going to take minutes off some of them. But best place with that Brighton attack, as it has been for a couple of years now, is Matoma. 6.5, looked excellent at the weekend, created a few chances, obviously got involved, and yet I think he will Let's have a little look at Matoma. Let's see his data he pulled up at the weekend. So yeah, 1.01 xg, 88 minutes, goal scored. While I obviously don't expect the XGI to stay that high, I think he's definitely going to be the one to go to in that Brighton attack initially. Once the fixtures change, maybe if you're on a game week 4 wild card, with a run of Ipswich at home, Forest at home, Chelsea away, Spurs at home, Newcastle away, Wolves at home. While I don't think they're great fixtures on paper, they are really good for their attackers. None of them are great defences really. Ipswich, Forest, Chelsea, Spurs we've just seen can be susceptible to conceding chances. Newcastle away from home have got suspects, and yeah, Wolves at home again. So I definitely could see a lot of people switching to Matoma come game week 4 potentially if they're wildcarding or looking for a replacement for some of their 7.5, 6.5 midfielders. But yeah, definitely one to watch, Matoma. And Minter, we only got 45 minutes out of Minter, I think. Come off again at half time with a concussion, so I think it was kind of taken out of his hands. He looked frustrated when he come off, but 0.65 XGI in 45 minutes. Got the assist, looked really dangerous. As a Liverpool fan, he seems to have an attack style to when Sadio Mane first come through at Southampton. He seems really raw, pacey, really direct. Sometimes seems a little bit kind of like he hasn't got control of the ball, but always seems to create something and really put fear into the defenders. He had Mikalenko all over the place in that first half. So yeah, really interesting to see how he gets on. I think both of them could turn into bandwagons come game week 4 really, as enablers to allow people to spend those funds. So yeah, definitely a few options from Brighton there. Yeah, Everton weren't great to be honest, and Nkunku to Matoma could be the one. Yeah, definitely. I think obviously the only thing I would say about Nkunku, and I think people are desperate to sell him at the moment because obviously he only got the 57 minutes. XGI 0.21, but it was against Man City. They're not going to play Man City every week, and the fixture run at the minute just looks really good until kind of game week 8. So Wolves, Palace at home, Bournemouth away, West Ham away, Brighton at home, Forest at home. So when Brighton have got 2 good games in 4 and 5, and Nkunku's got Bournemouth and West Ham, so I don't necessarily think they are bad games, and I would look to sell him ahead of them games again, unless we get news that potentially he's not starting, or for some reason he is a real expected minutes risk. But yeah, Matoma's going to be a great option throughout the season at different points as long as he can stay fit. Yeah, definitely. I think Nkunku's going to have his minutes managed, but hopefully not to the extent we've seen in game week 1. Obviously they have got Europe on Thursday. But yeah, I think he's a safe hold for everyone now, and as Rivers just said in the chat, he will come good. Don't knee-jerk him out. So that's advice from FPL River guys. So if anyone has any Chelsea questions or looking for any information on Chelsea, he is your go-to. He's helped me a lot with the Chelsea guys, despite me consistently slating them during pre-season. And we haven't even spoken about Haaland and Salah yet at this point. So yeah, I think let's move on to the big boys now. So I went with Haaland. I felt that I could still build a solid draft with Haaland in there, and yeah, I just felt that he was the better option with the early fixtures. And that Salah was always going to be a good option for whoever went with him, and felt like he was going to be a really good option for the people who went with him, and was glad to see a few of the people captained him and had a bit of faith in him. Now, I definitely think, as a Liverpool fan, I should have gone Salah and should have captained him. Maybe it was a bit of a mistake that I didn't follow my kind of fandom in there, but I think sometimes that does work against me, because I do think, am I just picking him because of the bias, despite how good he's been? So yeah, at the beginning of the season, I believe Haaland was the better option, and I think we're only going to know probably by the time people start to wildcard, because obviously Haaland's got Ipswich this week, Liverpool have got Brentford at home. I think by the time we start to see wildcards in 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and where people start to really play that wild card, I think we'll start to see then where did people fall on the Haaland versus Salah debate. I think the people who went with Haaland were kind of risky, because obviously there was a lot of content creators out there going Haaland and kind of putting their teams out there, but I think a few did go Salah. I think I seen Raptor go Salah and he captained him. I believe so. So I think there was some good teams out there with Haaland and Salah in there that did really well this week as well, because of the other options, the cheaper options in there that did well for them as well. But yeah, I think we'll see this week. Haaland might get his revenge, Salah might streak further ahead, but that's FPL. I think whatever way you went now, you've got to kind of just stick to your guns, and you had your reasons for it. I don't think there's any reason to be taking -4s to swap them around, or really be taking hits to change that at this point in the season. But yeah, there's still a chance for Haaland to catch up this week. I think Salah finished on 14 points, Haaland on 7, so not a million miles away. I think there's very much a chance this weekend that could be the other way round, so let's wait and see. But everyone who hasn't got Haaland this week, I think will be a little bit worried watching that Ipswich game, knowing that everyone who does own Haaland will have the armband on him. So I'm glad I'm in that position this week and not on the other side of that, hopefully. Nice 3 or 4 goal first half from Haaland. Even if he gets stuck off at half time after 3 or 4 goals, I'll be really happy. But yeah, stick to your guns, guys. Everyone picked Haaland or Salah for their own reasons, and they both did reasonably well in week 1, so let's see what they can do in week 2. Now, speaking of Haaland, more kind of talking about the possibility of triple captaining. I've seen a lot of people talk about it on Twitter and the viability of it because of the other chips and the lack of double game weeks. So my 2 pence is, I think it could be a really good option. I think we could look back at the end of the season and say it was a really good week to play it, because we didn't get the double game weeks that we wanted, or the mystery chip was something that needed to be played in a double game week, so we didn't have the chance to play triple captain in that game week. But I think we've got to remember that other good players have got hopefully good fixtures. You could end up with Liverpool getting a good double game week in the back half of the season. You could end up with Arsenal getting a good double game week. Even City ending up with a double game week later in the season. So I don't think it's the worst time to play it. Do I think it's going to be the best? Probably not. But I think if you've got designs to play it and you want it out the way now, so you don't have to worry about it later on, then Haaland at home to Ipswich is as good as any. But I'm happy to kind of just captain him and take the double points where I can, because I know he's probably, where is he at the moment, around 52% owned at the minute, so I would probably still consider him somewhat of a differential compared to the ownership levels we've seen him at last year. So definitely happy to just captain him, and if I look back at the end of the season and say I should have triple captained him, then so be it. He's whatever points he gets, I'm happy to take at the minute. I don't think anyone in the chat is anyone triple captain him. Let's have a little look. Yeah, everyone's saying Haaland for game week 2 is the one. Haaland's effective ownership for game week 2, so he's currently 52% owned. I'm going to assume that all 52%, or the best part of 50% of that, are going to captain him with a few triple captains in there, so you're probably going to be over 100%, probably somewhere between 110 120%. Potentially could do real big damage to the rank, because I think even if Salah goes off this week, I think anything Haaland gets, obviously due to the triple captain is in there. I don't think anyone's going to be triple captain and Salah this weekend, so I think the effective ownership for Haaland will be a factor, but I don't think it should really weigh into any decisions you make. I think that's just part and parcel of not going with him this week. He was always going to be an option, I think, for triple captain in game week 2. People did talk about it in pre-season, so yeah, don't worry too much about effective ownership, but I think he will be around 100 and maybe 110%, 120. I think it just depends on how many people play that triple captain. But yeah, so we've got I had Mo and no Haaland and bench boost on game week 1, and I'm free hit game week 2, having both of them, and then wildcard in game week 3. I think that's a bold strategy. Let's see if it pays off. I think you're going to end up probably scoring really well this week. You pick the right players, obviously, but with a free hit, you're going to favour the fixtures and hopefully come off on the right side of them. And then wildcarding into game week 3 when there is some fixtures to take advantage of coming up. So as long as you're in there, you could set yourself up for a real good attack. And I do think it is going to be more difficult this year to kind of catch up. So if you get yourself ahead and can kind of settle down with a few, start rolling transfers from game week 3 onwards, then you're definitely going to be laughing. But yeah, it definitely feels like he's got too many chips if he's using all them at this start of the season. Someone's got both Haaland and Salah, so yeah, I think that's a real nice position to be in terms of emotional coverage for your FPL team, because you had the comfort of having both of them week 1 and week 2. I think weeks 3 and 4 potentially, so I know you're probably going to captain Haaland in week 3 away at West Ham, but obviously Liverpool go to United, and then Haaland and City go to Arsenal and Newcastle in the following week. So I think the fixtures do get tougher for both of them as we go into it, but definitely a nice start to the season having both of them in there. But yeah, really good stuff. As I said, triple captain, not for me this week, but I can definitely see the upside if people really fancy playing it in a single week. Yeah, someone said I've got Haaland, Salah, Saka and Isak in my team, so I don't go insane. Definitely, I think, obviously, if it's something you're going to worry about or sit there over the weekend fretting about, then obviously pick the players that you're the most scared of, if that's what gets you through the weekend. But yeah, definitely a good week to have a few big hitters in your team. Definitely. I think the main person that I'm looking at the minute, which is going to be really tough looking at my forwards, is Havertz. I didn't expect him to start the season in the 9. I expected him to play in a number 8 role in midfield for Arsenal. But he started in the 9, looked great. Goal and an assist. I think if that's anything to go by, he's going to play there all season, and I think we can easily expect double figures for both goals and assists, meaning probably more towards 15 and 15 probably in both of them, maybe 15 goals, 10 assists, something like that, if not more. So he's definitely on the watch list for me to come in. Arsenal's fixtures are a bit hit and miss for the first few weeks. Obviously they got Villa away this week, Brighton at home, which I don't think will be an easy fixture in 3, Spurs away and City away in 4 and 5. But then from 6 onwards, including kind of this run of Liverpool, Newcastle and Chelsea, I'd be really happy to take on two Arsenal attackers and a defender potentially. I am looking to wildcard in game week 6 potentially, just due to various fixture swings. So yeah, Havertz could definitely be an option. Yeah, and for those who didn't watch the last stream, we did have Gian on midweek, so FPL Gian Batra, the thread king of Twitter, we did have him on before game week 1 deadline, and he did say that we should have Havertz. He was really bullish about him, really bullish about triple Arsenal. So we had Gabriel, Saka and Havertz, and was really bullish about all 3 of them. Even with he believed Havertz would start in the 8, and he was still really bullish about him, but I don't think I could have gone without Solanke. I think on another night he could have had 2 tonight. So again, really happy with the pick, just the outcome wasn't what I wanted, so yeah, we move on to the next week. But Havertz is definitely on the watch list for me. Big at the back obviously was really good this week. We've seen Trent deliver with a clean sheet. We've seen Gvardiol, Arsenal, obviously all of Arsenal defenders. Pedro Porro delivered with a goal tonight. Even Newcastle kept a clean sheet. So I think there's some options there, obviously big at the back. I'm keen to see a couple more weeks before we decide to go, before I decide to switch out of it in my wild card potentially. But I'm kind of happy. Obviously Kwanzaa's a worry for me at the moment, but yeah, I'm really happy with the defence. It's interesting to see. I think I seen a team on Twitter before that had a back five, and it was Porro, Trent, Gvardiol, and then double Arsenal defence, I think. Which was really interesting to see. That is big at the back, a back five. Yeah, I think it could be really interesting to see if big at the back. Obviously, there was a lot of talk in pre-season about the bonus points changes not helping defenders really, because if they do concede, then you may not see the likes of Porro, Trent, and people like that kind of gain those bonus points. But we kind of seen tonight. Obviously, I think Porro's finished on 2 bonus points with a goal. Let me have a little look. Has he finished on 2? No, he's gone down to, maybe he's always on 1. He got 1 bonus point. So again, maybe on another night he might have had 2 or 3 last season, but he's still getting bonus points and still going to be in there. But yeah, so let's see. Not sure what to do with Porro, who to transfer Porro to if he's injured. Again, I don't think, if someone correct me if you are watching the coverage of Spurs, I don't think Ange's spoken about him or been asked about him, so I don't think it's going to be anything serious. I think he would have come out and told us if it was otherwise. But yeah, let's just wait and see on Porro. We've got a couple of days. I think if Porro is out for any length of time, then I think Udogie might be the one to go to at 5, potentially. Look good. 0.5 cheaper. If you've got money in the bank to go up, then obviously you've got plenty of options, but I'd probably then start looking at the 5s and 4.5s. Well, there isn't many at 5. But yeah, I don't see there being any problems with Porro. Based on kind of what I seen, I didn't think it was anything that stopped him playing instantly, so he should be fine by the weekend. Mazraoui, should we talk about Mazraoui? Obviously, I think he's still the most transferred in player. Let's have a quick look. Let's go. All players. Transfers in. Yeah, so he's been transferred in by 210,000 managers at this point. 4.5 bonus points, looked really good for United. But as I said, I do think that Fulham attack might be a bit toothless this season, especially until Smith Rowe starts playing more minutes and kind of gets up to speed with the Premier League and playing more regular, because that front three of Iwobi, Traore and Muniz doesn't fill me with confidence from a goal scoring point of view. So yeah, I think it was a comfortable night for the most for United really, and the fixtures are okay, they're not great. I would be looking potentially from game week 8, obviously in the lead up to that they've got Brighton away this weekend, Liverpool at home, Southampton away, who look dangerous against Newcastle. I know they were down to 10 but still look dangerous. Palace away, Spurs at home, who we know 2 good attacks, Villa away, again another good attack, and then Brighton at home in game week 8, but there's a run of Brighton at home, West Ham away, Chelsea at home, Leicester at home, Ipswich, Everton. Potentially that's where I'd maybe look at United. But again, I want to see more from that United defence once De Ligt's playing consistent minutes, if he's playing with Martinez or Maguire stays in the side, and who's going to play left back long term, depending on the injuries, and is Dalot going to play over there consistently, and kind of what's going to go on there. So yeah, I think someone's just mentioned De Ligt there of 5 million. I just think with the 4.5s in that United defence, Martinez looks like he's going to be the starting centre back, and Mazraoui's going to start. I think based on both of them being under Ten Hag at Ajax and coming straight into the team. Obviously, in Mazraoui's case, I don't think I'd go to De Ligt at 5 million when the other 4.5s are available. Someone just said when Porro went down injured, Ange told him to get up and get on with it. So he doesn't think it's that serious. He just stubbed the toe. Perfect. That's exactly what we wanted to hear. So he should be fine for the weekend. Then if it's just a stubbed toe. And then onto the kind of the lesser talking points of game week 1. So Diego Jota obviously started number 9 for Liverpool. He's had some good quotes I think come out since the game saying he wants to continue in that position and he feels it's his best position. Obviously got the goal for Liverpool. I think he played okay. Don't get me wrong, I think he was alright. His XG for the game was 0.95, but it was a good chance obviously that he tucked away, so that will have took up the majority of that XG. So yeah, I think for me still a wait and see. I wouldn't be knee-jerking to get him in just yet. We did see Gakpo come on and play in that 9 position, so potentially he could have his minutes rotated. And even obviously Darwin is still to come back and play some minutes for the first team in the Premier League. He did get 60 minutes in a pre-season friendly, but we're yet to see what Slot wants to do with Darwin. So Jota's still a bit of a wait and see for me. I'm happy to kind of sit on Diaz in the team, but if you've got Jota, then I think he's a surefire start for this week, and you just keep starting him until otherwise. But yeah, I think Jota's just a straight hold, and then if his minutes change at any point or we see someone else start in his place, then he becomes an instant risk, as most of them would do. And then probably Isak's got a good talking point from the week. Obviously, a lot of people went in with captain. I think he was the most owned player going into the game week 1 deadline. I think the majority of people captained him, more than Salah, more than Haaland. Obviously, he come away with the 1 assist. Didn't feature in the bonus points, but obviously Newcastle did seem to be heavily affected by the red card and going down to 10 men. While Southampton were very dangerous, I think we can safely blame Breton Diaz for Newcastle's underperformance, I suppose. They still created chances and did well with 10 men, but I think it really, obviously, as it would with most teams, stifle their attacking potential as soon as you go down to 10. So yeah, again, no worries on Isak. I think he played okay. Factors considered, I was interested in Southampton, to be honest. I think they look good. Breton Diaz created a lot of problems. But yeah, definitely again a few enablers in that side, so one to watch, and definitely one of the obviously promoted sides to keep an eye on for a good run of fixtures. Could we see us own and Breton Diaz or anyone else from that side? Let's wait and see. But yeah, and then Forest are looking to sign Eddie Nketiah from Arsenal. People were very bullish on Chris Wood going into the season with his minutes over Awoniyi. He obviously scored at the weekend, 3 bonus points. I think what a lot of people expected of Chris Wood going into that first game. But again, he now even becomes a bigger minutes risk for me. So again, if you've got him, start him. Don't worry about him until his minutes change. But yeah, definitely a minutes risk, and I think he is going to have his minutes reduced fairly soon, especially if Eddie Nketiah does come in. Semenyo also in that game, 5.5. I think he started at number 9. Obviously he's classified as a midfielder in game. Could be an option, but again, that 5.5 range, we've got a lot of good players. Obviously Emile Smith-Rowe, who put up a decent 60 minutes for Fulham. We've got the Forest boys, Hudson-Odoi, Alanga, Semenyo at 5.5. I think as long as he keeps playing number 9, then he's an option. But obviously that could change at any point. Maybe they bring someone in before the deadline. And yeah, I think potentially he could be an option. Obviously Clivert might be an option as well in their side. He's potentially got penalties. I think is Clivert 5 million, I think, or is he 5.5? Let's have a little check. Yeah, 5.5. So Clivert could be an option with penalties if Semenyo does go back to midfield. But yeah, he's an option. I don't mind Semenyo. A lot of people did talk about him in pre-season, so definitely an option for this year at 5.5. I think also Minter's in the 5.5 category as well. Obviously I talked about him a lot in pre-season and a few others did as well. So yeah, keep an eye on the 5.5. There's going to be a lot of options in there. And then just touch on West Ham and Villa. I think Morgan Rodgers' minutes were more secure than people expected. Obviously played in that game, played really well, looked good. I think at 5.0, especially when Villa's fixtures turn in game week 3, I think they've got Leicester in game week 3. I think he's going to be an option, certainly for me to start. Obviously he is on my bench currently, but he is certainly an option for me to bring in. I think in game week 3 against Leicester, haven't seen what Tottenham did to them in the first half tonight. While they didn't take the chances, they created a ton. So yeah, Rodgers, from a footballing point of view, he is an excellent footballer. Hopefully that translates over to FPL throughout the season. But he is one hell of a footballer that Aston Villa have got on their hands there. And definitely really good option. West Ham, again, I think they'll be an option throughout the season. Obviously Bowen will definitely be in our teams at some point, I imagine. Fulkrug may become an option at some point. Even Kudus and Paqueta, if Paqueta's got penalties moving forward, he may be an option at 6 million. But yeah, some really good options from that game, I think, moving forward. Yeah, Maatsen did look very good for Villa in that game, actually. Really attacking. I do think long term he is the left back. I think there was talks of Moreno going to Forest, did I see? I think Alex Moreno leaving Villa, and then I think Ian Maatsen is going to be the long term left back there ahead of Luca Dean, but will probably rotate with European football, so one to keep an eye on. But at 5 million could be a decent option. Brentford Palace, I know we talked about Eze before, but I think one guy we didn't talk enough about in pre-season was Brian Mbeumo. Obviously, I don't think anyone was expecting Tony not to... Maybe some people were expecting Tony not to play in that first game with the rumours about him moving and stuff, but I think people probably expected him in the squad and to take some of them minutes at number 9. But obviously it doesn't have an impact on Brian Mbeumo whether Tony's there or not. He seems to step up, seems to play well, and obviously now if Tony is going or not playing, he is their penalty taker. So at 7 million will probably rival Eze this year for the best 7 million option throughout the year. Again, if you've got him, despite playing Liverpool this week, I think he's just a solid hold, and you can hold him as long as you want. And for 7 million, he is going to probably be mostly fixture proof in the sense that you can play him in every fixture. He's not necessarily going to return in all of them, but 90 minutes, penalties, and if you're watching Brentford, he's a fun watch. So yeah, definitely one that wasn't talked about enough, and one to keep an eye on with the fixtures at the moment. Chelsea City, again, we touched on Haaland, we've touched on Chelsea. I think for me, from a City point of view, there's only a couple of options I'm really interested in. Foden, when he comes back full time and he's starting. I think Haaland, obviously, and Rico Lewis potentially if he nails down that right back position. I did say before he's the one man that I would potentially move Kwanzaa out for if I was moving this week. But that is obviously only on the basis that probably Kyle Walker leaves the club. But yeah, City were okay. I think they'll be better as the season goes on and they start getting some players back. But yeah, De Bruyne looked good as well, 9.5, but I do think Foden will probably be the better option at that price this year. So, again, just keep an eye on City. Rotation hell, but Foden, Haaland and Gvardiol. I think, obviously, if Rico Lewis is playing, I think we're going to see Gvardiol play that left back / left centre back in a back three role. If Walker comes back and consistently plays in that side, then potentially we could see Gvardiol become that attacking full-back again. But until we see it, I think he's a lot of money at 6 million when he is just playing a centre-back role realistically, when you've got the other centre-backs, Diaz, Stones, Akanji, all at 5.5. Yeah, I've seen Gundogan might be returning to City. I don't necessarily think he'll be coming back to play every game like he did previously. Obviously, he's a couple of years older. Foden has really stepped up now into that position, and also Pep does seem to like playing Bernardo more through the middle now than he did previously. So I think he will be coming back more as a wise head to rotate into those spaces when he can and needs to, but I don't necessarily think he's coming back to City to start and play every game. We've mentioned the Chelsea defence. Yeah, I think for me probably Colwill is the only option in that Chelsea defence at the minute. Obviously, maybe when Reece James comes back, as everyone always says, Reece James might be an option if he's fit, but he's never fit, and when he's fit, he's suspended. So maybe he becomes an option again at 5 million. He's cheap enough for someone to probably take a punt on him, but Rivers just said in the chat there, don't trust our defence as a Chelsea fan. Yeah, I think that's fair, but I think the good thing is they are cheap enough to take a punt on them with the good run of fixtures, especially if we see a pattern in the back four that Maresca likes. And I do expect Chelsea in those games where they are playing lesser teams to keep a lot of the ball and try and hold possession, which could potentially equal more clean sheets. I'm not necessarily saying it will, because I don't really rate Sanchez as a goalkeeper either, but I do think there will be options in there potentially coming up really soon for that Chelsea defence, whether it, as I said, it's in the shape of Reece James or Colwell potentially. But yeah, and maybe if we see a change of goalkeeper, if Jorgensen comes in, then Chelsea's defence looks even stronger potentially, and maybe a solidifying in the midfield. If he starts picking a solid midfield too, then we may also see Chelsea come a more solid side. But they're a no-go for me at the moment, but they may be, as I said, they may be cheap enough to become punts and a nice asset to have and hold in the next kind of 6 to 8 game weeks potentially, with the fixtures being the way they are. Cucurella, obviously, with Chilwell being told to go, I'm not sure what left back options Chelsea have got outside of Cucurella. Whether it would be Colwell playing left back, I don't know whether Maresca would favour that, or is he looking at potentially playing Gusto as a left back? Again, I just think for me, Reece James being captain, if he's fit and playing, he's the one who's nailed. Colwill seems to be the centre back that's nailed, so at 4.5 and 5, James and Colwill definitely seem to be the two that I would kind of be watching, I suppose. But again, I wouldn't have them on my transfer-in list right now. It would definitely be a watch and see. And then Leicester Spurs, obviously we talked a little bit about this before, the Spurs assets and the Leicester assets for the most part. I think the good thing, everyone, if anyone's got Harry Winks, his minutes look secure. He's going to be great bench fodder this year at some point, isn't he? 4.5, 90 minutes, and he does his best, doesn't he? Tries really hard, and yeah, he's going to be a great FPL asset, I think, for a third spot on the bench for anyone going for a very direct 3-4-3 potentially. Tonali just saying, I think we will see some form of a 4-2-3-1 at Chelsea. I don't think he wants the three centre mids. Yeah, I also agree with that. I don't think Maresca will want the three kind of centre midfielders in there moving forward. I think that was specific to the City game because he probably thought he could get control of the game with no Rodri in there, but Kovacic ran that midfield really for most of the game. I can't see them carrying on with that three midfielders in there. I think he has to play with a 10, but as we know with Chelsea, that 10 could be one of 6 players. So again, just wait and see on Chelsea. If you're not going in Nkunku or Palmer, then let's wait and see and give it a couple more game weeks before we kind of nail down who their assets are. That's pretty much it for the game week, guys. Has anyone got any more burning questions or anything like that? Obviously, we've talked through the fixtures, kind of my plan for the game week ahead, and obviously my game week that I want to forget about. What did I finish on? Let's have a little look. Bonus points have been updated. 55 points. That game week rank hasn't been updated, so let me just have a little look. I am using live FPL, guys, just to check my rank, and it's going to be hopefully just inside the 5 million, 4.9 million, so not the best week, but definitely a good place to start from, because surely the only way is up, we would say, especially with Haaland captain this weekend against Ipswich. Let's have a quick look, see if there's any kind of final questions there on the chat. Thoughts on ESR versus Pereira? I think we've seen obviously Pereira in that first game drop into the holding position and then go into the 10 when Smith Rowe come off, so I think Smith Rowe is the option of 5.5 there. Pereira I've seen talked about as leaving potentially Fulham. Obviously if he doesn't, he probably will still have set pieces, but Smith Rowe in the 10 position looks the best for me. But as I said, I'm not a big fan of the Fulham attack based on that game against United. I don't think United are great defensively, and Fulham didn't really cause them too much trouble. So yeah, definitely one to keep an eye on for Fulham's attack. But yeah, let's see. Gvardiol's just been given 1 bonus point for Sunday's game. So just for the guys who don't know, the bonus points have changed this year. So previously, or all the points have changed really, in the sense that they used to only be able to update the points up to an hour after the game. So once an hour had passed after the final whistle, FPL could not update the points. They've now changed that to the end of the game week, so points and bonus points can be changed at any point for any game up until the end of the game week. So obviously Gvardiol's just been given 1 bonus point, which obviously for Gvardiol's owners is very, very lucky. But I did see some people early on in the game week saying BPS were missing off people, so again, one to keep an eye on if anyone's got players who may have gained a point or lost a point here and there for bonus. So definitely give your teams a check, guys, and see what you've ended up on there at the end of the game week. Tempted by Matoma. Yeah, as I said, I do like Matoma. I haven't got really any questions about him. The problem I've got potentially is my 6.5 slot at the moment is Nkunku, and when Brighton have good fixtures in 4 and 5, Nkunku plays Bournemouth away, West Ham away, which for Chelsea's attack hopefully should be 2 good fixtures, and 2 fixtures I'll be happy to see him play. Potentially the only way I would then go to Matoma is downgrading Diaz from 7.5, but I do think there'll be other good options around that price if I'm looking to move on from people around that kind of game week 4, game week 5 slot. So yeah, I think again Matoma looks like he's going to be a good option, as he always does when he's playing and fit. So yeah, just I think he's a good option for anyone who fancies him and looking for a 6.5. But if it's in place of Nkunku, I'd just hold Nkunku if it was me for at least a couple more weeks till we really get into the season and see what Nkunku could be. Oh, look at that. So I did beat someone. So Biritanali I did beat. What did you end up on? Sorry, 53, so 55. So that's going to be mini league bragging rights for me this week, I think. So that's nice. I think you may have just missed the 5 million. So I know there's going to be a couple of guys in here that have got really, really good ranks. I think I seen a 90 score somewhere in the chat before. Someone said, or close to 100. So definitely got some work to do. Personal question for my own team. Need to start 2 of Hall, Kwanzaa, Mazraoui and Feis. So I think Hall is a definite start for me with the red card. I think he's nailed to start. For Newcastle, Bournemouth away. While I don't think it's great defensive fixture, I think it's probably one of the best. And then I think it's really close between Kwanzaa and Mazraoui. Kwanzaa with the home fixture against Brentford. If he starts and gets more than 60 minutes, I'd expect a clean sheet. Against Brentford at home for Liverpool. Mazraoui, Brighton away. Brighton were very good against Everton, but Everton weren't great. So definitely one to ponder, I think, as the week goes on. But Mazraoui's minutes are probably going to be secure moving forward. So if you've got any doubts about Kwanzaa, then my advice would probably be to go with the minutes. But I am going to take a punt on starting Kwanzaa unless we hear otherwise from Slot or there's an injury or anything that happens. Guys, while you're all here, if you don't mind, just while I'm going through your questions, can you like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already? Leave a comment on the stream as well for me, guys. It does really help out the channel. Obviously, I have only got... Should we have a live look at subscribers, guys? Let's have a little look. And let's see, and you guys can... Let's have a little look. We're currently up to 13 subscribers, guys, so if any of you guys haven't subscribed, please do so. Let's try and hit 15 maybe. Obviously this is a new channel. It's going to be mostly live streams. I'm going to be doing the rundown, obviously like this stream, probably on a Sunday or Monday night most weeks. I will be trying to avoid Andy's knee-jerk streams and FPL Family's Sunday night stream as well, so it will more than likely be on a Monday night. And then also later on in the week, Thursday and Friday, I will be doing a guest stream, which we call our Live Lounge guest sessions. The first volume was Gian Batran that I mentioned earlier. He is the Thread King from Twitter. He came on last week to talk about Gameweek 1 and even gave us a Gameweek 1 free hit team, which I'm running a little competition between my guests this week to see who can score the highest free hit score. So Gian had Gameweek 1 and he put a team in. I'll be reviewing that on Thursday. My guest on Thursday is FPL Chai. He's coming on Thursday evening. It'll be around 8 o'clock the stream, so join us for guest sessions volume 2 to see how Gian's free hit team got on, to see how Chai's free hit team that he's going to give us for Gameweek 2 may get on, and obviously we'll talk all things Gameweek 2 there as well with Chai and get his opinions, as obviously he is a big name in the FPL community. But yeah, definitely go back, and if you didn't watch the GM one, go back and listen to that, because that guy's got some great insights on football and FPL and gave out some really good tips that I didn't follow, which was mainly about Arsenal players. But definitely go and check that out. My streams will tend to be around an hour to an hour and a half long. Obviously I think we're around an hour and 20 minutes now, but so hopefully not too long for you guys to go and catch up. But give them a watch, give them a like, drop a comment, and as I said, subscribe to the channel. And on Twitter, guys, I'm at FPL Live Lounge, also on Instagram, and I have just set up a TikTok account, so if you're out on TikTok, go and check that out. But yeah, please share, repost, comment, and let's get the word out. I'm not a content creator, I'm not an expert. I suppose I am a content creator, but I'm not an FPL expert. I am just someone who loves FPL, has been playing for a long time, and thought the average FPL player needs a voice. But yeah, no, it's good to be here, guys, and to be chatting to you all. So let's see if there are any final questions before we close the stream down. Does anyone know what to do? Garnacho, who might not start, or Rodgers against Arsenal. So I'm assuming you've got both Garnacho and Rodgers. I think Garnacho will start. I think. Yeah, I think Garnacho will start at the weekend. United have got Brighton, haven't they? So Brighton away 12:30. I think Garnacho will start. So yeah, if you've got Garnacho or Rodgers, I think I'd definitely go Garnacho. And yeah, someone's just said United is the first fixture of the week. It is the 12:30, so hopefully we should get a leak. So if Garnacho is one of those leaks, definitely start him. Obviously, if we hear otherwise, then I think Rodgers against Arsenal is a fairly decent pick. And River hasn't got TikTok because he's not a 17-year-old girl. That's fair. I've been told I've got to be on it as a content creator, so TikTok isn't my jam either. But if you are on it, give us a follow. And let's see. I don't know how long it'll last, but let's see if we can get some likes and some views on there. Yeah, Thursday stream will be around 8 o'clock, so I know it does clash with the Europa League. I am hoping to try and move it to a Friday moving forward with guests. It just depends on when the deadline is. If the deadline's on a Friday, it's more likely to be a Thursday. And if the deadline is on a Saturday, then hopefully moving forward the streams will be on a Friday to avoid any European fixtures. But yeah, any final questions, guys, before we close the stream? It's been a really good one. Chat's been active, so thank you very much, guys. Yous have all been really chatty tonight, asked a load of good questions, and hopefully if I don't speak to you on Twitter, I will speak to you on Thursday. Thank you very much, guys. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe on the stream, and we'll see you next time for the next rundown.